reminder of where the top 10 prospects have already landed, headlined by Travis Hunter, might have heard of him, going to Colorado. A pair of Florida State transfers in the top 10, big class for them. Dominic Lovett ending up with Georgia. A lot of elite talent have already made their decisions. So because of that, today we are talking best fit. Our portal expert, Chris Hummer, is here with us. And Chris, we usually go to for all the intel on the uncommitted transfers, but they've made your job maybe a little bit easier now. A lot of them making those decisions, so we're going to kind of switch it up today. Let's start with the former USC wide receiver Gary Bryant, who recently announced his decision to transfer to Oregon. What will the former four-star bring to Oregon's offense?
He's a weapon and somebody who can work in the slot, which Oregon needs after losing Chase Cota to graduation this offseason. Gary's a 4.46 guy in the 40, a lot of speed. He didn't play in 2022 much. He redshirted after an early September injury, but this is somebody who was a 600-yard receiver in the Pac-12 going back to 2021. And more than anything, he's a weapon for Bo Nix. Oregon has a Heisman caliber quarterback right now in Bo Nix, and we've seen Dan Lanning and Oregon do everything they can to shape the roster around him. Gary Bryant's their third transfer wide receiver this offseason. They've also brought in 3 starting caliber offensive linemen. They have 2 former transfer running backs around Bo Nix as well. So this is an offense that's been put together on the fly to accent what Bo Nix does best. And I think Gary Bryant is yet another piece in that puzzle for Oregon as it looks to continue its offensive play from 2022.
Chris, another big wide receiver commitment over the weekend. Tyler Harrell made a name for himself at Louisville, goes to Alabama last season, gets injured, things don't work out. Now he's headed to Miami. Kid from Miami Columbus, that's where Mario Cristobal went to high school. How big is this for the Hurricanes as they transition to more of that passing attack under new offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson?
It could be huge. I say that with a big caveat, a big if, because Tyler Harrell's had a really hard time staying healthy in his career. But if he's on the field like he was in 2021 for Louisville, it could be absolutely humongous. This was a Miami offense that did not stretch the field last season. They ranked 117th nationally in terms of pass plays of over 40 yards. They don't have a single returning receiver who had an average depth of target last year of over 13 yards. Tyler Harrell with legit 4.2 speed. He's been clocked an official 4.25 at Louisville during a pro day. Averaged 29.5 yards per catch as in 2021 when he was healthy. This is somebody who can take the top off of a defense, and he's something Tyler Van Dyke could really use for Miami. So if the pass blocking is good, Tyler Van Dyke is healthy, and Tyler Harrell is healthy, it could be a huge addition for Miami. But as I said before, there's a lot of ifs to get through there. But on the whole, it's a really positive addition for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I heard a lot of coulds in your answer. We'll see how that shapes up. A pair of notable quarterbacks entering the portal during the second window. You got Peyton Thorne going from Michigan State to Auburn, and then Casey Thompson transferring this most recent time from Nebraska to FAU. So of those 2 moves, which do you believe is the best fit?
I'm just going to try to make Andrew happy here. I'm going to go with Casey Thompson and FAU. But I truly believe that. No offense to Peyton Thorne. I think Peyton Thorne takes Auburn from being a potentially below average offense to a slightly above average offense in the SEC. I don't think he's going to transform Auburn this coming season. He's more of a bridge player. I think Casey Thompson could transform FAU. If we remember, Tom Herman recruited Casey Thompson to Texas. Casey Thompson's a pretty natural fit in that power spread system that Tom Herman operates in. We saw those two together for a very brief time in the 2020 Alamo Bowl. Casey Thompson had a huge breakout game in relief of Sam Ehlinger. He looked like the next superstar for Texas. Tom Herman got fired shortly after. Casey has dealt with a ton of injuries in the time since. But when you look at Casey's tape and you look at his production when healthy, on the Power 5 level, he's been a really good starter. And I think if you put him in the context of the G5 ranks, you put him in the context of an FAU team that returns more production than any team in the group of 5, Casey could be the missing piece for a program that's transitioning from Conference USA to the American. If FAU were still in Conference USA, I think they'd be the runaway favorite to be the conference favorite for the year. It'll be a little bit more difficult in the American in year 1, but I think Casey Thompson makes FAU a dark horse contender in the American as they make that transition.
Chris, that was the right answer. FAU plays at Clemson and at Illinois this season. Just keep an eye on the spreads. Might be worth it if Casey Thompson's the guy. One other transfer that's going from CUSA to the SEC, Varquise Gums, tight end out of North Texas, headed to play for Sam Pittman. What are they getting in him? And we know that the Razorbacks want to put a bunch of tight ends on the field and run the football.
A ton of help. There was a point this spring where Arkansas looked like it might start 2 freshmen who have had a combined 1 catch in their career as their 2 starting tight ends. And Arkansas, as you said, is going to run a ton of 2 tight end sets with Dan Enos as their new offensive coordinator. And Varquise Gums really helps solve that issue for Arkansas. He is experienced. He was a all-conference player for North Texas this past year. He's one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the portal. And he gives some pop to an Arkansas offense that could frankly use it. KJ Jefferson needs some weapons on the outside. They haven't really had an impact guy at that position, at least since last year. They lost a really good player at the NFL draft in 2022. So the Arkansas offense could use some pop, and I think Varquise Gums provides a lot of that at a position of need.
Right, we talked a lot of offense, but we can't leave out those defenders. Alabama landing UAB transfer safety Jalen Key. He was the top player at his position in the portal. So what does he bring to the Crimson Tide defense that kind of had a need at safety?
Desperately needed experience. Malachi Moore, if you want to count him as a cornerback, I think he plays star for Alabama, kind of a hybrid position. If you take him out of the equation, Alabama has 0 experience at safety. They return only 1 starter in the secondary, really Kool-Aid McKinstry, and they're trying to piece this unit together. I think we're all really high on Caleb Downs, the true freshman, 5-star, arguably the best player in the 2023 class. But you bring in Jalen Key, and he makes things a little bit more difficult for Downs and Kristen Story to get on the field. He's an experienced player in the secondary, a 6th-year senior, somebody who can really add to the room, be it as a starter or a key depth piece. And Alabama's secondary, I believe they only had 13 scholarship players exiting spring ball. They've added 2 more in the time since. So this is exactly what Alabama needed. It brought in experience, depth, somebody on the best path possible as a starter for you, and a bridge player. And on the worst case scenario, he is a key depth piece. So this is a really big addition, which I'm not used to saying for Alabama from UAB, but I think it's going to be huge for them this season.
You're used to saying like a big addition for Alabama or a big get or a great player is going to Alabama, but yeah, from UAB, that's going to be fun to see how he transitions to that next level. Thank you so much for all the intel, Chris.